I feel like I'm always on the edge of burnout and inspiration. I can't turn my brain off, which is good at times because it allows me to come up with great work, but it means I'm always on. I've tried therapy, medication, I've trying to set work-life boundaries. However, I fall back into similar patterns. I love what I do, which is half the battle, but being on all the time isn't sustainable long term, and it's starting to impact my relationship. Any ideas on managing this would be great.
I coach so many people around this exact dilemma. It's so common, particularly post-pandemic. I think there was something about remote working, hybrid working, that has got us all more stuck in the on position than we even used to be. I mean, even moving to sort of more digital smartphones, that got rid of a lot of external boundaries, and we tended to be more on, and, you know, more not having those defined times where we finished work. So there is a need to be much more boundaried. First of all, to understand that, you know, the mechanics of your brain never actually switches off. You know, if you're switching your brain off, you're in an episode of Grey's Anatomy and it's not going to look good. You know, your brain just switches through different networks. So what you want to do is make sure that you're having enough time in the main networks. So the main networks are your task network. So that's also when you're consuming information, but when you're doing. Your thinking network. So that's when you're integrating everything you've just consumed, and you're really sort of, you know, strategizing, creating, innovating. When it's going bad, that thinking brain, when you've been in it for too long and it starts getting negative, that's where a lot of depression and anxiety comes out of. And then you've got this sensory brain, which I gave you a little taste of in that exercise. And that's when you're fully present. You know, you could be fully present in a conversation. You could be fully present with your food. You could be fully present with your pillow. So that's that third sensory network. That's the network that we've lost the art of going to. So it's like we're stuck in our doing and our thinking. And that's not healthy, because both of them have significant long-term health impacts for us. So to get out of that, like, most of us know this, but there's a real resistance to coming out of it. So the common resistance I hear, the barriers are, I'm too busy. So that's just faulty thinking. The busier you are, the more your brain actually does need to spend some time in the sensory network to be able to then go back and be creative and be effective in that thinking network and be, you know, good at transacting in the doing. So yeah, the busier you are, the more you need to be looking, what do I do? So when you have your breaks, yes, we're all going to do the mind numbing, you know, watch Netflix and chill and eat junk food and have a glass of wine. Not telling you not to do that, but just make sure that at least 15, 20 minutes of your sort of downtime is something really sensory, whether it's going for a cold swim, you know, connecting with a good friend, playing a musical instrument, you know, patting your dog, going for a walk with the dog, being in nature, anything that stimulates your senses. So yeah, it's one of the other barriers is, other than I'm too busy, is we might have some things that we've taken on from our families of origin or from how we've grown up. So for me, I've got a workaholic dad. So I know if he rings me on the weekend and I say I'm working, I get little pats on the head. Oh, you're such a good girl. You're my daughter. You know? So if you've grown up either in a culture or a family where workaholism is rewarded, you know, it's really challenging. It's hard to challenge that. And you almost feel guilty or like a bad person. So it's knowing that, like, I know that about myself. So I have to actually really discipline myself and go, okay, that's dad. He's dad. This is me. We're living in another world. We're living, you know, he used to go to work at, 9 and finish at 5, but at least he could go home. We never get to switch off. So, I'm entitled to have more downtime. One of the other reasons is people they fear being seen as selfish or lazy. So they fear being judged for having breaks. I really encourage people, if you're going to take breaks at work, put it in your diary and shining lights. Let's make a movement of like, this is something to be admired, not to be looked down on. And the last reason is we can actually almost get addicted to being on. So it's like our brain gets stuck in on position. I find, that happens to me occasionally when I've gone too long without a break. And then I know, okay, it's time for me to have a holiday. But the holiday I need to have is one where my phone's away, I'm doing lots of sensory activities, I'm not running around too much, but I'm really getting my brain to unhook and almost withdraw from that constant looking at screens. Yeah. So I'm not sure if that helps, but there's a few ideas there.
Yeah, definitely. How do you have any other tips, Nikki, for turning the brain off?
I was only just going to say, I think it's similar. What drives you? So is there something that you're to turn off? Like, is it validation or acknowledgement, but it goes back to what Martine said, which is actually much more important, which is what's that higher order behavioral pattern. But like, if you're always on, is there something that you need to find? Is it by Friday you send a whip to your manager and get them to say you've done a great job? Is that going to help you switch off? Again, it's not going to help that smart behavioral pattern of you need to be validated, but you can find out what drives your need to be always on. Maybe you can solve for it as well.
Yeah, it often is sort of an internal barrier, I find. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's work practices, and I think that's what the whole psychosocial movement, that's going to tackle those external challenges to taking breaks slowly, but I think internally there's a lot we can do.
Yeah, I find because obviously, there's lots of things happening, a day job and Never Not Creative and the mentally healthy stuff. And it's one of those things that I think when you do get away, you have to give yourself kind of fully to what it is that you're doing, because it's easy to just kind of keep in the back of your head that, I've still got to do that and I've got to do this. But if you can go, actually, no, I am with the dog or the kids or my wife, then you, by just going, no, I'm in that now. I find helps of just trying to flick that switch. It's not easy though, is it?
Yeah, I think kids and dogs are good for like forcing you there.
Yeah, because they probably won't allow you to be not present. Yeah.